Television do the get near 514 and there your brother Busuma Yomenenda Otodo enum oyontifo bosom ne denti ebusia tasebade yame ende fiti anada nsun egugwa besi anope enwabiri ayewomi na enwabiri de yene tasebade yame watu kakra da aman enye kire da nyame a oya nyame no nokwe no yehu osana me na wime ye na nda ndwimpo da iyem no abeda na so de bi no boya na wiem no ayekan don korber kasebo a ofi oye Costa Television de bra we ebate nsembi woma mesafu beenu wetiti wambo wirem esiden na da na wusi no wode plastic bottle na onye date na wode sisenyim we si 2 bedroom self container akaya ahobosam dama asoya wo hwe adansi no kwado na mpaifa wada kwano nkoma University of Science and Technology na onye Cape Coast Technical University no akwapro na wakwhwe edana ote damono yeboko na yakwhwe no so numu nsam ne bi damara na wasi 2025 and na wacho na mpanyfa wada Academy of Christ the King school na no de wonansam na wonafuti ama adusiafo no wonhwe na wankafa bibera ahye won wanfa nko examination room damara so no we to awofo no for there awofo nya batene won bo mofama na wasene nchiroyi sabwa munye tedai wunya awehiem wontum na onfa nchiro wasa watedamano eyi na nsem bi a aka won na bre materebosom da Costa Television donko kasebo abafam kitikeku asorba kofi esuman imom sasede popa bi owa ansanan yamfa ma king of the universe asaya waji atume de obobo ma densi no wondama no ewie ye peti na pampe da hwede woda na ebesi no eda no obenya hodere pa enti bede materials nina no ekowa ebenya bi king of the universe wona soye wona dawo ma no we somasem ma meti oye donkoro kaseboyi mede brahumi afi yenhye nsam na ase impayem de aya kasebebu aka madodo nampo wakade da beyin tumi yen besia su tumi yen ma obodo ampara parinu nyanya mpa enti tasebo ade nyame ni wiada ogbe aya obeye de adichi bia yewunum asama okodo adichi bia yewunum asama okodo na ndei ma yati ana yedi yenyu ekonwi de mesafu benu a woye mesinfo wesi eden na wesi nya de wodi oya blobo ana super brace na udesi de na otedam no eden na wesi oya de na wodi plastic bottles na dati na udesi senyim na wesi 2 bedroom self contained obi anedi a wowa na wabetenem meke se ya edan no ayakra de obesisi ntokwa na mobo na akaba na da echi na nyimpa dema obeye nti wode nkanea na da akaka won so wode akọ ekwawiem abra Costa Television yebo apra no yakotwe da Cape Coast Technical University no mumpayifo wanye Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology no mumpayifo won na what's the matter na what's the me shepo won so oyo awon wada nti plastic pa na wode afadete na wode si eda na what's the me ana sabrita fecha say po wo be ya na nchoye meyin na oda woye na so meyin wini na no oye plastic na data woye besia mba besiafo na wesi the matter na what's the me na mpinfa wako asayem won komotwetwa Costa Television ye won twetwe no da waka ne bi
nice papa ede me hu bi da na nipa no ede ni susui na adwene na ode ye bibisa na otimi so ye natural ankasa na we de me prefer say impo me ankasa me nya anka me ye bi wo me fi na obia nso nya bibisa e wo me fi a very nice very refreshing from ma unya hu say from my fadeni mu akama anu ye cold anu ye very cozy I there your friend said damn wa aju kama na me feel there say it me obi at me be say e woni fia and first say e be boa no pa say oh the wa boa Ghana man nyina because this year he say and probably to 2 bottles near the outside and all that, you know. They feel say we're reduced to that sort of wastage and probably environment. We're splitting all these bottles around. To see, I may feel there say it to me, will be to me, be say, dear, why not? I'll say you try as much as possible near Buano. So we try, say, beg gather, sell bottles, see. Now, normally, the brown now will be to me, so I body a bapa. Am I a poor accident mine rather than say, you better 2 bottles near Diego in China, I go add roads ni baby basa. Now, I tell say this has also come to solve. We have solve waste, plastic waste here, you have to 2 go about Nabontin. Now, for the as I ban so be ultimately so coffee muna, want me gather more of this waste. Oh, yeah, papa. Now, yeah, shares how I they create a pure tourism of a cell or each how your friends say, wait maybe at the plastic, nice things. With the tourism will be able to make the piano or barber share. Said they are waiting me, I are for fair. In fact, oh yeah, Kappa, I idea Osha, we need you who over per se, once over per se, baby wolf ye, and I did, or young crying share. Indeed, before they are buying Sumuna, improve our person by Pubeshe as tourism. Or they share developments near the tourism attraction. Me sure say had the one fan kahuna and one man of France from Rameshe, a dear papaya ye. Now did the oil pa. Into you who there is here and CO2, so I know how I can. And this is here, why you say, ye nya CO2 assembia a very reduced no crack. Into ye problem with environment. What da no what da, when you assume so no what da. When your problem be in future, it may feel say, Obia, why you be here at the same, or there bonabado, Rocosi and Dama, na impu if I by nano, a brilliant tries to be say now when you reduce CO2, I destroy environment. No, I are not also all how I drink, but I do all how I drink cry. Into your best said there, Obia and Timmy baby, sir, I will niffy as time goes by. Pacha Edamasi.
Yako nsam wa oye donkuru kaseboya. West Africa Examination Council wona nhihye no mu no ewia peye de se emofama wodhonu masua bewiyi wo oye efi ibasema odada mofama no so wono hwe na wo da ampa da wukusa ne fi ibase ina no obenda wonche ho nsohwe a obacho na pa nti afi wasa 2025 obacho no enda na wansase na mpanyimfa wadano wo oye omanaga namti aba abotugwa achemede enokwane se yeboyin kwampo na yekoyekwohwe mente na nketesi atitampo mafama wo bachiraw oye damun sohwe wo managa na namfa na nyina ra enata oye empempem edanan biako na onye na chiripo oha edanan onye edonu biako nye adusuafa oboko akacho nsoshe ana wasa simpo wacha nsoshe wande na mummeyin waye oya empim da wotwe na nambre da mara na mesafo so waye empim edonu bien ena nambre na ina no behia ona obegyina do wo oya sukuru nkokon eduson enum meche 75 schools owo finfi manto be ina Coastal Television yaba pro na ikupe mu oye Academy of Christ the King sukuu no mu ho aba adusuafo no so wode wono masua na abewiyi na wonso amon kwande oda watch social media yakwa kwato wono na wono so da wo fa graphics woli ye bi papa wo ende a wo shase wori ya practicals wona wo ya graphic wona wo ya economics no keka wi na no ende na wode dwumeda otedam no wode ahyehyedo na ikupe mu Academy of Christ the King cheche yi pay na oda no de nsem tugwa chemi pefe de ahobode waye bi papa na mom afutu na oda okomofama na wohwe awoya hweye wabra wonkafa bibiara nkese won emfa nko examination room mo no nkafa ituwahyew onfa mom headmaster owe nosa oda Academy of Christ the King school na no nsema okay ne bi
the yashe examination as na Academy of Christ the King ɛdɔm dodoɔ a yɛdze wɔn rekɔ dɛm ako yi ɔyɛ 501 nti mimi de yɛ wɔ abɛsene yɛto nsa fra awofo dɛ wɔn mmerɛ no nkyɛ wɔnye wɔn mba no mbɛhyia na mbɔframa no dze ma ɔdɛ wɔyɛ bi a wɔayɛ wie na baabi wɔadu no ɔdɛ adom bi so ba ɔsɛn the Bible say ɛkono dze ɔna ɛbɔko but ɔdɛ adom bi ba nti ɔno na yɛhyia yɛbɔ mpɛ dɛ nyame nara ɔmdom wɔn na ma wɔasua biara no nyankopɔn nara ɔnyɛ wɔn kakaefo na mmom adze kɔ a mototɔ serɛ wɔn nye dɛ abɔfra bi biara ɔntwe no mfi examination malpractice ɔne dɛ WAEC this year no wɔn anyiwa abere papaapa last week Wednesday wɔto nsa frɛ heads na ɔnye yɛn assistant academics nti yɛkɔhyia sisi ampɔmɔ wɔreka nye dɛ sɛ abɔfra idu exam hall at the time waka start work mama ya mo kwan ma emba and me bedo baba nde ebra ya bra nyina for this past 3 years no baba nda abofra baba yes ya ma no kwan ma oncho nti motutasre awofo wanyi won mban kasa sabi wona ya nyi won boarding houses ye guda ya nyi won re kasa bebre no wo befifie wo baba no wa botro nti woreba awofo no nyi won kasa wonder 30 minutes before the time na when you sum there yamina raba manansa duma afi nkunyimze waye wanazi because oya yenya was the race is not for the swift yes wa man na kwanya da yansu yantro wasilibi adesa da retro fancy pem retro bia retro bi na mom wonim repom nyankopon na raba hye no ho enyimnyama ma Academy of Christ the King nti kakra mo wa mo de chia mo mbofra ma wo ko sohwe no dasi
sta oda suku na no owura Renos ordinance no be wi no na assistant headmistress na so otechi rehwe mbofra no won modin bokon kan bokoye oya Mame Genevieve Benes Eshan owura ye kan di no odutu gwache me de enokoi se yehwe bambo nsamda ono odaba temira kana komotuniyem osane school na abo no na waye bambo hihye ni na kama wodatu gwede oboboa omoforo no wa chon sohwa won mba asam na mmom ato hie papa ona ida awofo na nkasa begina do na otu ho abo moforo ma oba ne da wona akwana batitire po wona wonda boarding ho na wokọ na waba no ama wona akwana be na no onka fa semere mfamba Mame Genevieve Benes Eshan nesemo kan nebi
so far yeah nyankasa hen personal timetable what's the timetable was about or very broad all subjects na nye school no subject nyina odo na ye inti no ya pick nyankasa hen subject ye no na ya no wasi school timetable na ya za aboho na moframa no wetume hu de ebia ende mo dem pepe azicha mo dem pepe nti ya za aboho yes obi an copy na on shannon so no oduru a na waaba mofan baby ya be examination na ngwa na aze ye be use nyina yesesie ni nyina ti so oba no call paper enyi baby ya be hyehyɛ bibiara security so school no trokrateko police station na wa amahen security obaba school ha time ye kafa papers so wa ye ka onye mboko ozaba na yewie so a wa ka ho me ye za akọ nti no so ya yezi hu dwuma nti no me gizi the school no aye crowd de wasi 2025 no ya aye crowd de ye beye emom afutu kakra moto mozama esuafo no nye de wasi no yes a time na yes ye na wasi mbrachre de say wash examination ase ana afra baba onyi de ma no kwan e ma otro paper nanso yenyim de onya su de ye be deny obi nti mo mototo asra wonde obi an bono mozen ombra wasi mbrachre de 8:30 na atene dem na afen yes paper aba 9 o'clock ashase nti mo from no bia bono bozen number school ntam na onsu ade so na manenyu nda apodo apopo se wenyu adado na nsua ya apo no bekita opo a menji de botumaye nti won sua ade because as bibi show ho na watchwa wo paper we twom we cancel bi opo was the phone she no na wa ban na az ni nyina no onye fe disturb afra no progress in future nti no ya bese de obosua ade na wo baye ntam ewo examination hall 8 o'clock ze then chafe bia edu school a obeye crowd de obocho dem paper no ta afutu kakra mo wo ma students ni awofo no nso won hwamba no mo wonsua aze wo ba retro wase mo wenwanze echi time odo soro be school obe fia mbre obenyampo no waten no wa hwebukum na aze no no su hia nti yemfa dam encouragement ne yemfa time of family echi yan cancer pancho de botum aye yero ho suadze bo mozen yemfa dam kwansha sam yemfa mo hon na paper na obotwo was fa akukudur no fa mbotro no ntum no ntro ne ye nti kakra maka acha awofo so nyen won bo hen
Owurare Genevieve Benes Eshan nansama odutu gwacha awofo ni abatan wabra enuanom mafama wasase wacho wono wase instruction ono bi na etin ebusuanya konsem fufurum na yanko amampen John Dramani Mahama feyin kwaja otode ba sanaso ye ende ebibi mani na ebehia mu ankan Kingsby Hotel a wo hwede aprometin mapa oman Ghana ni ebibi no mumba obenya ohie papa eyenti wakwekishem na ntutua awore yede eba kwa na obafado basoka berede yerebebi etu nenwa desi omane bi hu ana yerebebi etu ponkom reba ebibi manda eba kwa na obafada oboso da bi yereba otseman na jumedina se no omampen John Dramani Mahama na kwa ba otere manenu anoma wo fi amanade wo bai ana wo fi ebibi menya wo ba kan sra de mamonan oda kwa ban sameto na oda de sere so oda kan na oji pinti na pampe ma wota ase de nokori obi ya ma bibi manu nya de nkabom ya bo hwe na ya boa ama so bande munuanyu ewada ya te bobo ama mede mu mane tumpona na da ba mo so wada mo de ba mo mane tumpona na wo so da ba na ya bobo ye won kakakra ono na omama omani na ya fantampa yefra omampen John Dramani Mahama nsama okan wo oy Africa Health Forum nasan ibi
A few months ago, I had one of the rare weekends when I didn't have a social engagement. And so I decided to take it easy at home. And then I got a call. It says, President Obasanjo is coming to see you. I said, Baba, you won't let me rest small. And so he arrived with a big retinue of people. And it had President Obasanjo, our friend Mark Daibo, Michelle Sidibe, Edem Aziogonu, and Archbishop Duncan Williams. Now this had happened just after the events in America where the USAID office was shut down and America announced a suspension of USAID programs. And so even though the issue of health sovereignty and domestic financing of our health systems had been an issue of discussion for several years, that event made it even more urgent. And so Baba had dragged all these people with him and said, we need to hold a conference and put some more urgency into creating resilient, self-sustaining, and self-reliant health systems. And so that is how come the idea of this summit was born. And so President Obasanjo, Archbishop Duncan Williams, Michelle Sidibe, Mike Daibo, Edem Aziogonu, and all of you who gave birth to this idea. I want to thank you. It's because of you we're here today. I want to thank the DG of the World Health Organization for leaving everything and coming to join us. His presence lends importance and urgency to the subject that we're discussing here. And he said something. He said the difference between crisis and opportunity is leadership. And so I think that as leaders of Africa, we must take the bull by the horns and lead this conversation and ensure that we're able to build more resilient health systems. My sister Amina, who hosted me when she was president of Mauritius, I want to thank you for coming. And my mother, Johnson Sirleaf, former president of Liberia, I want to thank you also for coming. Minister Partey, all the ministers from Guinea-Bissau and other countries who have joined us today, I want to thank you. In the holding room, I was discussing with Director General Tedros, and I was talking about President Ruto having invited us to come and understudy their primary healthcare system. And it turned out that the technical assistance for setting up that system came from the World Health Organization. And so immediately, Director General Tedros offered that he would send his technical team to come and work with our Ministry of Health to set up our own primary healthcare system. So I want to thank you in advance. There's a story of my father's friend who went to a friend to borrow his car. And he went to ask him to buy him a car. And when he went with goats and sheep and guinea fowls and came and said, I came to thank you in advance for the car that you have agreed to buy me. So DG Tedros, in African tradition, I've thanked you. And so we'll expect your technical team to come and work with us to design our own primary healthcare system. I believe that this would help with preventive health system and create a more resilient health system for us. So I want to thank you, all of you who have taken time, Victor Bampo, Nanoye Bampo, and all of you who have made this possible. I want to thank all of you and all those who have traveled from near and far to join us. Thank you very much. So without wasting any more time, Your Excellencies, let me begin by offering you a heartfelt Akwaba, and that is a warm welcome to Ghana, the land of freedom and justice, and the proud home of Pan-African aspirations. We're not gathered here today by chance. We're here by conviction, shared purpose, and a collective refusal to accept the limits imposed on us by an outdated imagine what our healthcare systems can be. This summit comes at a time of overlapping and intensifying global crises. We have wars, we have pandemics, we have climate shocks, we have economic volatility, and widening inequalities. And these are not just testing our systems, indeed they are exposing where the fault lines are. The world has changed, but global health governance has not kept pace with the changing world. At this moment, we're called to redesign the architecture that has for far too long excluded Africa's voices, excluded Africa's needs and innovations. We're called to build systems that do more than respond to crisis. We must build systems that generate resilience, produce equity, and amplify dignity of our people. Let me be clear. We've seen profound global health achievements over the past decades, that is true. And let us honor those successes. For instance, child mortality has been halved since the 1990s. Maternal deaths have dropped by over 40% since the year 2000. Over 29 million people are living longer and healthier lives due to cleaner air, better sanitation, and innovative health systems. These gains have not been by accident. They've been the fruits of bold partnerships like Gavi, the Alliance for Vaccination, the Global Fund, PEPFAR, unfortunately, that's part of the program that has been canceled under USAID, and many others. But even as we celebrate, we must confront the truth. These gains are now under siege. In 2023, global development assistance declined sharply, and Africa felt the shock. Immediately, maternal health programs halted, vaccine supplies delayed, and medicines disappeared from the clinical shelves. In Ghana, our community-based health delivery model, which we call the CHIPS compound programs, was brought to its knees by abrupt funding withdrawals. The ripple effects were felt all across our country, from Dodowa to Damango. This is not merely a funding gap, it is a crisis of imagination, a vacuum of solidarity, and a deep failure of shared responsibility. Above all, it is a question of the sovereignty, the right of African nations to determine their health priorities, marshal their capacities, and lead with their own vision. And so out of adversity comes opportunity. It must be the architect and the advocate of its own health destiny. Let us remember that Africa is not new to global health leadership. When HIV and AIDS ravaged our continent, African leaders like President Olusegun Obasanjo and the late Kofi Annan of blessed memory helped catalyze global responses that birthed the Global Fund and Gavi. When Ebola struck West Africa, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and her colleagues became a moral compass for the conscience of the continent. During COVID-19, President Cyril Ramaphosa rallied the African Union into collective action on vaccine access. Today, President William Ruto is leading the charge to eliminate malaria as a continental scourge. Today, President Kagame is the African champion on domestic health financing and is leading advocacy in building resilient, self-reliant African health systems. We built enduring institutions like CDC, PanaBios, the African Medicine Agency, that are not an innovation. It is grounded in data and designed for self-determination by African countries. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, here in Ghana, we have not stood still. We have uncapped our National Health Insurance Scheme financing, opening a fiscal space of about 3.5 billion cedis more for broader and deeper health coverage. We've launched the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, otherwise called Mahama Cares, a sovereign innovation mobilizing public, private, and philanthropic capital to tackle chronic disease burdens like hypertension, diabetes, and kidney failure. Our launch of our primary health care program in the coming months, along with the recruitment of community health volunteers, will improve the general health and wellness of our citizens, marking a significant step forward in preventive care. And that is where DG Tedros has promised to help us. But let me share one real life story. And this is of Akosua, a young mother in a town just not too far from Accra called Dodowa. She survived childbirth complications because the CHIPS compound she attends was digitally linked to a regional hospital. And so in real time, she had a real-time referral system that saved her life in childbirth despite the complication. A digital prescription platform ensured that she received the medicines that she needed without delay. This is not a vision of the future. It is present reality of health sovereignty in Ghana. We're not merely reacting to emergencies, we're building systems that create jobs, reduce inequalities, and uphold the dignity of every Ghanaian, no matter where they are. Health is wealth, and we must reframe the economics of well-being. We must reject the outdated notion that health drains our economies. In truth, health is the engine of productivity and bedrock of $1 invested in health resilience. It yields up to $4 in returns. This return is even greater in Africa, where youthful populations represent latent economic dynamism. And so every malaria case that is prevented is a day of work that you have regained. Every maternal death that is avoided is a family that continues to remain stable. Every vaccinated child is a future you have secured for your nation. We must therefore urge our ministers of finance, and I'm sad our Minister of Finance is not here, to treat health as a capital investment, to encourage sovereign wealth funds to allocate resources to biotech, to diagnostics, and resilient infrastructure, to call on economists to revise national accounts to reflect health as productivity multiplier and not a consumption expense.
Ebusia amampen John Dramani Mahama for Ukraine otodo ebasa na nsama na atibi na ewieye yɛrekɔ Ghana Road Transport mona hwɛ impempeyare wɔte kate bi ebregwa akyerɛ dɛ wɔnye aban atenefom wɔn ayɛ ntotɔsɛ na wagya atum dɛ wɔbɛsi ahentie de no maabo ɔha no munkyem edunu me check 20%. Senti nyobena, senti kur ebien ebasa. Onye de, se yeshe igoda, ndama kwa nebe nyowa, o mede watitu, oye dole wati udo, sidi gene na bisusampara, na su eko goda, ndama nobu yadi, spare party, nobu o moti, damara na bana kasa, na tasi sahuruwa, wajibo, oye kalo muni nano, ndamini nano so, nobo or moti into yaga water do Mobba Nine for iron kafo, one water one da, say 7 Bukuda Uti Juma. Impemplayale, say a quarter of water a quarter, but water the Dami Nano, was up with 1 Ghana, 1 liter, was the Ababadi. Eating what a and the shy, none to team up. Aquatu abandoning 1 comma, or Crodo, or I may be smart way. Neda otodu denu dikisene da otodu edunu biako da mebe no wokehia na wotimu nkomo ye ho tutim papa ma wotimu tum nti ende akwa akabande sa da me no otida ena no obehia da ma ayenkafo de 20% de ma oye ayentia de ntum no obobo papa ode wodi tum de nche wonfa oye 80% pe edanche wonfa ntoro wo oye fuada aba sensen kweben na so do badatu da wanjin tumu akaya wachi binide na wonete woja wanda no beti na pampe de ebeyifu babon na da 20% increment awahwehwe wati amam kate ya opoi abani owura Emmanuel Ohene yawa oye general secretary dema oye Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council da mara na Alhaj Tanko no so oye acting national chairman dema ikui onsan katai ena aba abotubi implemented abana so fele no masam bebe waja atum de the 20% what be yedima ana mo fa yedima ye bokoda ye techi de obi fi baba no ye mama hena ebusiafo na hwafo manaso ati ebusiafo gina do na mo fa oye donko kesehwe na mo fa brewe asida papa wo no mo fa ma oye King of the universe, I say you papa, what the adensi muba, say adondo, na ekwa, ubabo, what they say, no dama, etum area pay apple, name papa, caught na kaji, adensi the maina, no one days on Kodu, kakra, wabra, ibi papa, ned with Eddie Atu. Memory fear, na mafasa dama, survey professor, Emmanuel Pamela Bafo, the Tanka director. Enonye Joe Boy Benes Nebushafa wake na asira sonko onkomo from Kitikebo Asalaba Kofi Esuma Makamina. Bye bye.